Hi, I'm Aidan Holmes. You don't know me, but for the past 4 months, I've been working behind the scenes here at Across the Fence. Join me today to find out exactly what I've been doing.
Hello, Vermont. Well, as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours, and we at Across the Fence were lucky to have not just one, but two interns spending the semester with us in our basement office at UVM. Yes, that was indeed the exterior of our building. If you thought we did all our work here on set at WCAX, I hate to burst your bubble. Instead, I am going to let Aidan do that. Joining me to share his behind-the-scenes impressions of life across the fence is Aidan Holmes, a UVM senior who's capping his internship semester by graduating this weekend. Aidan Holmes, welcome. Technically, it is a welcome back to the show. You're all going to get a chance to see what Aidan did on the show also when you watch tomorrow. But yes, welcome back again.
Thanks, Amy.
Nice to have you here. Okay, so tell us about yourself. Where did you come from? What have you been studying at UVM?
Well, I grew up in DC for all 18 years of my life, and then came to UVM undecided. I just really liked Burlington. Somehow found the CDAE department in CALS, and been studying economic development.
Tell folks what CDAE is, because that's a pretty unique department with a very interesting focus and a different perspective on how students learn.
Yeah, I was actually explaining it to somebody yesterday who took a regular econ class, but it's community development and applied economics. So it's kind of like taking classical economics and thinking about where that actually works and where it doesn't work, kind of, because it's a lot of economics is theory, and so this is kind of taking that apart and seeing how does that actually apply to the real world.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more hands-on learning, experiential learning. There's a lot of field work, right? Yeah. Have you been out in the field much, like in your studies?
I haven't been out in the field per se, but I've taken the service learning class with the Attorney General's office, which is just one of the many service learning classes.
Yeah. Yes, in fact, actually, folks at home, you might remember we actually did do an interview with a professor from CDAE who takes students to it's not the Virgin Islands, St. Lucia.
St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, yes, there you go. Yes, okay. So if you want to know more about CDAE, you can always go back and watch that show. Okay, but then also, your parents are both journalists. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up in a household where media was a part of your universe.
Well, first of all, the radio was always on. It kind of just blended into the background.
Because they're with NPR?
Yes,
Okay.
they've both been with NPR most of my life. My dad started most of his career at ABC. And I think that's kind of what led me here, especially with him. He kind of just took a job with ABC out of college and then found he liked it and worked his way up. So this is kind of my shot, seeing if this is my calling for broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
And then I think
I feel like a lot of pressure. Okay.
they've both traveled across the world for their jobs, and I think just hearing those stories my whole life kind of, it made me want to travel, and so that's what led me to the Peace Corps. Yeah.
Peace Corps, we'll come back, circle back around to that one.
Yes.
But I am hearing that. Like, there are these threads of real world application, but also thinking about the stories of people, which maybe is a piece that comes from living in a house where that's something that, journalists do. We're kind of thinking of the story. And so it's cool to hear that that is in part what brought you to Across the Fence. Tell us how you found us, how you got involved.
I found you through an email sent out. The CDAE department, specifically Carrie Daigle, is very good at keeping students in the loop with opportunities going on. So there's just an email sent, I think, over summer. Just clicked on it. I hadn't heard of kind of TV work opportunity like that.
I
at
think
UVM.
the cute part of that is it's almost like I hadn't heard of TV.
Yeah.
Age appropriate. Okay, yes. TV work, yes.
Yeah, and so it just looked really cool. So then I reached out to Keith. I was also talking about it with my documentary professor at the time, and he really motivated me to go after it.
And let's talk a little bit more about that documentary background, because that was something we were very excited about when you applied to the internship. Was You had some experience behind the camera. You had done some editing work before. Selfishly, that means that we were thinking, hey, look he has a skill set that we can take use of, right from the very beginning. But talk a little bit about that class and about your interest in documentaries.
Well, that class, it's part of the CDAE department, and it's documentary for social change. So we were talking a lot about kind of the ethics of documentary making and how you're presenting people. And it built up to a final project, which I decided to do on the South Burlington food shelf. And basically over 3 days, when I had the rental equipment, I just filmed as much as I could, and I just like going to and from every time. I just felt like invigorated by kind of the chaos of it and figuring everything out. On the first day, I realized my mics weren't turned on, so I didn't get any sound.
You had the classic learning curve.
Yeah, and I just loved it, so I wanted more of that. Yeah.
How did you settle on the South Burlington food shelf?
I was interning with Common Roots through the summer and the fall, and part of that internship is delivering whole produce to the South Burlington food shelf, at which point I'd then kind of just become a volunteer for the food shelf and mingle with the volunteers, with the customers, and it was just such a warm and welcoming place. I wanted to show that in the documentary.
Yeah. Were you working with the same type of equipment? You were talking about rental equipment, which I think you get from the library, right? There's a suite of equipment, so you get equipment from the library. How did that compare with some of the equipment that you used going out and shooting with us?
Very different realms. I mean, it's a camera and a tripod, but at the food shelf I had like a little rinky-dink camera, whereas here I had that behemoth of a camera, and it definitely felt like a step up. And I was going into a classroom for a piece on the crow class, and I got to feel cool because they had the side held camera, which I always wanted to use. And it just, I don't know, it makes you look more important.
Makes you look very official.
Yeah.
All right, well, so let's talk a little bit more about all the things that you did with us on Across the Fence. So early on you pitched us the idea of doing something about the South Burlington food shelf, and then we had the escalation of the war in Iran, which had impacted fuel prices. There's a relationship between fuel prices and food shelf donations, so all of a sudden this became a really timely topic. So I turned it back over to you to develop an episode for us. So what did you learn from that process?
I think my biggest learning curve was just kind of how to formulate the script, because there was so much that I still wanted to say about the food shelf and a lot that I already knew, but I struggled to come up with questions to kind of guide the interview, what I actually wanted to ask and how those would build on each other. And so I kind of just wrote a couple questions down and then stalled until you took it away.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. It was really fun, especially having the pre-interview with Peter, knowing that he was excited as well, and just being part of the piece for the whole process was really cool. Yeah,
really. Okay, well, so spoiler alert, and then I made him a co-host of the episode, which we had never done before. And while you were talking to the food shelf director, Peter Carnoli, who is quite a character, about the video you made on the food shelf for your class, you actually went off script, which I thought, kudos, well done, and decided to dig a little deeper into something that he'd said. Let's take a little peek.
Video, you also mentioned the couple from Germany who didn't know what a food shelf was.
Yeah.
In order to get to a world where food shelves don't exist, or a country at least, briefly, what kind of steps could we take?
Briefly, how can I solve world hunger? Yes, thank you.
Hey, look at this. As a co-host, he's going right for the banger question. Go for it.
There's no reason we should have hunger.
Yeah, right. So obviously, folks, it's a great interview. You're going to want to watch that tomorrow. And great job, by the way. You handled all of that so well. I hope you're looking forward to watching it as well. How did it feel sitting in the seat? You did my job.
It was fun. It was cool. I'd never really been on a set like this before. But I think I was definitely really nervous. But I don't know. I kind of just tricked my mind into thinking that it was just a conversation.
It is, yeah,
It
exactly.
is.
It is. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation with, tens of thousands of people watching you. But so you've been in front of the camera and behind the camera. Which do you prefer?
I think behind. I
Okay.
think, I mean, part of the aspect with my food shelf piece was there was no voiceover, which we kind of talked about. We talked a lot about like the form of documentaries in my class and the trade-offs of anything that you decide to do. And I just decided my voice isn't as important in that piece as it is to just show what's going on and have people see that.
Pretty cool. Well, so when you look back, what do you think you're going to remember most about your time with Across the Fence?
Probably that basement. I was in that basement a lot. Going between the consumer assistance program is in the same basement for those who don't know, and so I'd be in that office, and then I'd have Rhiannon come over and ask me a question about Premiere, and then I would just look up YouTube while we were both there.
So basically the basement is a little bit like being in Vegas. You sort of lose track of time. It's windowless. There's like one window, at least I have one window. It's like up at street level, so you can kind of figure out what the weather's like outside. But otherwise, it's just a very heads down, get your work done kind of environment. So, and what comes next for you?
In August, I'll be going to El Salvador for the Peace Corps for
Peace
2
Corps.
years.
Fantastic. Well, Aidan, I have to say it has been an absolute pleasure getting a chance to work with you over these past several months. I want to thank you for all of your great contributions to our social media, to making packages and clips and everything that you brought to the Across the Fence team. You have been an absolute joy to work with, and we are wishing you lots of success.
Thanks, Amy.
My pleasure. And as always, thank you, Vermont, for learning and exploring with me today. And thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.